Tjena! Anke är väl han. Eller SweDuck, som jag så duktigt har börjat kalla mig nu. Jag hittade ett konstigt spel här. Stanley någonting, det står väl här titeln ovanför. Som är anställd nummer 427 på något företag. Stanley Parable. Eller Parable, jag vet inte. Vi testar och ser vad fan det är. Spännande. Det är så spännande. Svintrött, jag vill bara gå och lägga mig. Klick to skip. Nej.
This is the story of a man named Stanley.
Hey Stanley!
Stanley worked for a company in a big building where he was employee number 427.
Wow!
Employee number 427's job was simple. He sat at his desk in room 427 and he pushed buttons on a keyboard.
Wow!
Orders came to him through a monitor next to his desk, telling him what buttons to push,
Okay.
how long to push them, and in what order.
Okay.
This is what employee 427 did every day of every month of every year.
Vad
And although
jobbigt.
others might have considered it soul-rending, Stanley relished every moment that the orders came in, as though he had been made exactly for this job. And Stanley was happy. And then one day something very peculiar happened. Something that would forever change Stanley. Something he would never quite forget.
Han som pratar, hans
He had
röst
been at his
påminner mig
desk
om
for nearly
någonting.
an hour when he realized that not one single order had arrived on a monitor for him to follow.
Jag tror det är en
No one
bokversion
had
av
showed up
Liftarens
to give
Guide
him
till Galaxen
instructions,
som han påminner
call a
om.
meeting, or even say hi. Never in all his years at the company had this happened. This complete isolation.
Blue screen of
Something was very
death.
clearly wrong. Shocked, frozen solid, Stanley found himself unable to move for the longest time.
Nej, men
But as he came to his wits
ät en
and
bulle.
regained his
Kan du göra
senses,
så länge?
he got up from his desk and walked out into the hallway.
Oh. Ja! Jag vill in och titta där. Men,
Stanley decided to go to the staff lounge to check on his co-workers. He never functioned well
Co-workers.
by himself and constantly needed support and guidance from others, so the thought of total solitude was terrifying to him.
okej. Då går vi väl till fikarummet eller vad fan det var. Men där är ju inga andra som jobbar heller ju. Vad fan är detta? Hallå? 3 plattskärmar och en tjockskärm. Jag tänkte säga jag ser ingen dator, men de står ju där. De är 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 med den som ligger på bordet. Det är lagom. Okej, det är väl hit då. Så
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open
jag var
doors,
beredd på dörren nu.
he entered the door on his left.
Jaså? Men jag vill in i den till höger. Jag vill in hit.
This was not the correct way to the employee lounge, and
Okay.
Stanley knew it perfectly well. So he turned left at the first open door and walked back in the right direction.
Men vad fan. Då måste jag gå runt bara för det. Okej. Men det var rätt kul att man kunde göra lite hur man ville. Fast jag behöver nog inte för den hiss där framme. Okej. Det här ska jag köra live någon gång och så får folk rösta. Okej, jag ska göra som de säger nu
And
bara
like
för att.
that, he was back on track.
Jag ska göra som de säger bara för en gångs skull. Får se. Här är vi framme i...
As Stanley entered the lounge, he was horrified to find not a single person here. He decided he would walk up to see his boss, hoping that he would find an answer there.
Jag kan inte hoppa och jag kan inte slå eller någonting. Kolla den. Ja, det liknar ju han som är där uppe. Då måste det vara chefen eller något. Precis samma utrustning som förra killen.
Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
Okej, vad säger ni? Ska vi göra som de ber oss nu och sen gör vi vad fan vi vill en annan gång? Jag gillar berättarrösten, jag gillar detta.
Entering his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life.
Någon som har skitit på den stolen.
That he began to feel dizzy and a little sick, and even thought he might pass out when suddenly he noticed a keypad next to the filing cabinet in the corner of his boss's office. Stanley had never seen this panel before and had no idea what combination of numbers would produce any result. In fact, only Stanley's boss knew this, since the panel withheld access to the boss's greatest, darkest secret. And so he had assigned the keypad a combination that only he could possibly know. The number of his freshman dorm number in college. 1957. But of course, Stanley couldn't possibly have known this.
Fan vad roligt. Vad gör jag då? Det var lite kul.
Yet incredibly, by simply pushing random buttons on the keypad, Stanley happened to input the correct code by sheer luck.
Okay.
Amazing. Stanley ventured forth into the newly opened passageway. As he drew deeper into the bowels of the building, Stanley had no idea where he was or what this place held. And just as he began to think he might not discover a thing, he emerged into a long room to find
Vad?
rows and rows of monitors.
Vilken var min? 427 var min, tror jag.
Stanley noticed, however, that these were not random numbers, but the number of employees who worked in the building, his co-workers. Even his own number, 427, had a place on the wall. But why a setup so elaborate, he asked. Was this simple surveillance or something even more? And as if in answer to his question, the wall slid open before him, revealing the ultimate truth of the situation.
Stort ställe. Jesus.
An enormous control panel, Stanley discovered, but not one that controlled simple machinery. Buttons were labeled with emotions. Happy, sad. Levers and knobs controlled actions. Walking, eating, doing work, or watching TV.
Okay, so man kan
Every input on this device monitored not the functions of a machine, but of a human being. And the reality began to sink in. Stanley, like so many other people, reduced to images on a monitor, had been under someone's control, always at the mercy of this machine. Could this have been the only reason employee number 427 was content with his boring job? That a machine had altered his emotions to accept it
get on with it.
He began to feel an unbridled rage, and at the peak of his anger, something happened. A spark. Stanley looked up and saw the generator overhead, still providing some small amount of power to the machine, keeping it alive. And knowing that this generator was all that kept the controls running, Stanley moved to the ladder in the back of the room and began to climb towards the rafters.
Men nu är det så här att nu vill jag prova lite saker först. Vad händer om man trycker här? Eller det kan jag inte. Jo, jag tänder röda lampor. Jaha. Vita lampor. Okej, en tänd och en släckt. Och så är det väl på hela stället då. Det är ju för fan helt jävla omöjligt att luska ut hur det ska vara utan... Ja. Nej, det är klättra.
The higher Stanley climbed, the closer he felt to freedom.
Freedom!
The further from enslavement.
I want legend, freedom. Okej. Fan, nu får jag snabba mig om jag ska hinna med gameplayerna. Hej. Stäng av den! Så, nu kan alla få bli... Oj, uh-oh. Det där var dumt gjort, va?
Blackness. Power gone. All alone.
Ja.
And then...
Okej. Ja!
As he stepped
Frihet!
into the fresh outside
Jag är
air,
fri!
a
Jag är
feeling of
fri!
liberation rushed
Som en liten
through Stanley's body.
nyckelpiga.
He had seen power. He had seen enslavement. And he had destroyed it.
Som en duva
The
är jag
underling was
fri.
in control now. He had found his leading role. Stanley never discovered why everyone had gone missing,
Inte jag heller.
nor how and when he had come under the machine's control.
Inte jag heller.
But it didn't upset him terribly, because he knew that this was how things were meant to happen. All he felt was a delight unlike any he had ever known before.
Okej.
Never again would he follow someone else's orders without
Nej!
question.
Aldrig!
Never again would anyone tell Stanley
Nej!
where to go, what to do,
Nej!
or how to feel.
Nej!
No more bosses.
No more
instructions
bosses!
on a screen. Stanley decides for himself now.
Stanley
And he
bestämmer.
stepped out into the world.
Ja.
And he felt the cool breeze upon his skin. And Stanley was happy.
Happy, happy, happy. Shiny, happy people holding hands. Okej, det var det. Jo, men det här kommer jag nog att köra på live någon gång när jag streamar, när jag bara fått mitt jävla fiber. Och så kan folk få säga åt mig vad jag ska välja för val här. För att nu jag är riktigt nyfiken nu. Jag vill springa fram och tillbaka och göra många saker. Men det ska jag inte göra, utan jag håller mig, så hörs vi en annan gång. Adjö!